The Washington quarter dollar is one of the most iconic and widely recognized coins in American history, and its story begins in 1932, when the United States Mint decided to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth with a brand new coin that would replace the standing Liberty quarter, which had been in circulation since 1916. And although the original plan was to issue the Washington design as a one-time commemorative half-dollar, Congress ultimately chose to introduce the design on the quarter denomination, a decision that would forever change American coinage, making the Washington quarter one of the longest-running series in U.S. history, and from its very first striking at the Philadelphia Mint in 1932, collectors and everyday Americans alike became familiar with the bold profile of the nation's first president, designed by sculptor John Flanagan, whose portrait of Washington was chosen over a competing design by Laura Garden Fraser, sparking decades of debate in the numismatic community, since many believed Fraser's design was superior, yet Flanagan's version prevailed, showing a left-facing bust of George Washington with the word Liberty above his head, the national motto "In God We Trust" to the left, and the dates centered below, while the reverse featured an eagle with spread wings perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath, symbolizing both strength and peace. And this design would remain the standard for more than 6 decades, creating a sense of continuity across generations, and the specifications of the Washington quarter also gave it a unique place in circulation, with a diameter of 24.3 millimeters, a thickness of 1.75 millimeters, and a weight of 6.25 grams when struck in its original 90% silver composition from 1932 through 1964. And for coin collectors, this silver content makes pre-1965 quarters not only historically significant but also valuable for their precious metal content, as the Coinage Act of 1965 shifted U.S. dimes and quarters away from silver to a copper-nickel-clad composition due to rising silver prices and hoarding. So while later Washington quarters still carried the same familiar design, their intrinsic value changed, creating 2 broad categories of Washington quarters in the eyes of numismatists: the classic silver quarters of 1932 to 1964 and the clad issues that followed, and among these, the very first year of issue, 1932, produced 2 legendary key dates, the 1932 D from the Denver Mint and the 1932 S from the San Francisco Mint, both of which had extremely low mintages compared to later years, with the Denver issue totaling just 436,800 pieces and the San Francisco striking only 408,000, making them true rarities and must-have coins for anyone attempting to build a complete set, and because of their scarcity. These coins have soared in value over the decades, with high-grade examples fetching thousands of dollars at auction, while even well-circulated specimens are highly sought after, cementing their place as key treasures in the Washington quarter series. And as the years went on, collectors paid close attention to changes in mint marks, design details, and the occasional striking errors that gave certain issues unique appeal, such as doubled dies, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, and clipped planchets, all of which could dramatically increase a quarter's value beyond its face and metal content. And one of the most famous examples of a valuable error is the 1934 double die obverse, where doubling can be seen in the motto "In God We Trust," a variety that continues to intrigue collectors today. And moving forward through the 1940s and 1950s, Washington quarters became an essential part of daily life in America, circulating heavily through World War II and the post-war boom years, with mintages steadily increasing as the U.S. economy grew, and collectors began to assemble sets by date and mint mark, filling albums with Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco issues, creating a nationwide hobby that encouraged people to look more closely at their change. And the silver issues of this period remain affordable for many collectors today, though high-grade examples certified by grading companies like PCGS and NGC can still bring strong premiums, particularly for coins with excellent luster, sharp strikes, and eye-catching toning, which can transform an ordinary silver quarter into a showpiece worthy of top collections. And the changeover in 1965 to clad coinage marked a turning point, as the new quarters no longer contained silver, and although millions were produced, creating few rarities in circulation, certain varieties like the 1965 transitional error, struck on leftover silver planchets, became incredibly valuable, as these wrong metal errors are highly prized by specialists, sometimes selling for tens of thousands of dollars depending on condition. And the Washington quarter continued with Flanagan original design until 1975 to 1976, when the bicentennial quarter was introduced to celebrate the 200th anniversary of American independence, replacing the eagle reverse with a colonial drummer boy designed by Jack L. AHR, paired with dual-dated obverse showing 1776 to 1976. And these coins were struck in both clad and special 40% silver versions for collectors, and while they were heavily saved and are common in circulation today, high-grade silver bicentennial quarters can command significant premiums, and from 1977 through 1998, the Flanagan reverse returned, until another major transformation arrived with the State Quarters program in 1999, which revitalized interest in coin collecting by introducing 50 unique reverse designs honoring each U.S. state. Followed later by the D.C. and U.S. Territories quarters in 2009 and the America the Beautiful series from 2010 to 2021, each featuring national parks and historic sites, and this shift ensured that the Washington portrait, though slightly modified by William Cousins in 1999, would remain a centerpiece of American coinage while introducing millions of new people to the hobby, sparking the modern coin collecting boom. And throughout all of these changes, the Washington Quarter has produced numerous valuable varieties, such as the 1982 and 1983 issues, which lack official mint sets and thus are challenging to find in high-grade uncirculated condition, the famous 2004 D Wisconsin Extra Leaf Quarters, with extra high leaf and extra low leaf varieties on the corn stalk, the 1970 S-proof quarter struck on a Canadian quarter planchet that sold for over $35,000 at auction, and many more that keep collectors searching through rolls, bags, and estate collections in hopes of finding that one coin that transforms pocket change into treasure. And as we explore the Washington Quarter series in depth, it becomes clear that this coin is not just a simple piece of currency but a window into American history, artistry, and the evolution of coinage, a coin that began as a tribute to George Washington in 1932 and has now spanned more than 90 years of circulation, design innovation, and collector passion, and with each year, collectors continue to debate which issues are the most beautiful, the most undervalued, or the most important, fueling a hobby that is as strong today as it was when the first silver quarters rolled off the presses during the depths of the Great Depression, making the Washington Quarter one of the most enduring and fascinating coins you can study, collect, and treasure. In continuing our deep exploration of the Washington Quarter dollar, it's essential to focus on the second chapter of its incredible journey, because while Part 1 covered its origins, silver composition, design changes, and key varieties up to the modern era, Part 2 gives us a chance to look even closer at the evolution of this coin through its most notable key dates, the rarest mint errors, and the staggering auction results that have made certain Washington quarters some of the most valuable pieces of U.S. coinage ever sold. And this is where the story gets even more exciting, because the Washington Quarter is one of those coins that seems ordinary to the untrained eye, yet it hides treasures that only collectors, numismatists, and historians can truly appreciate, beginning again with the 1932D and 1932S, which remain the ultimate key dates in the series. And though we've already established their rarity with mintages of less than $500,000 each, it's their auction history that really captures attention, because while circulated examples may sell in the hundreds, high-grade certified versions, such as MS-65 or MS-66, regularly sell for $10,000 to $20,000 or more, with top population examples commanding record-breaking prices, proving that rarity combined with condition creates a perfect storm of desirability in the numismatic market. And following those, the 1937 double die obverse is another standout, where the doubling on "In God We Trust" creates a bold, collectible variety, with examples in mint state trading for thousands of dollars, and the 1943 S double die obverse, another spectacular rarity from the wartime period, also fetches serious money, while the 1950 D over S over mint mark variety is a fascinating example of a repunched mint mark error that collectors love, showing how even small details on Washington quarters can drive demand. And one of the most legendary transitional errors in the series is the 1965 Washington Quarter struck on a 90% silver planchet intended for 1964 coins, because when the mint switched from silver to clad composition, a few silver planchets remained in the hoppers and were accidentally struck with 1965 dies, and these ultra-rare wrong metal quarters are some of the most valuable coins in the series, with examples graded MS-66 selling for more than $50,000 at auction, while even lower-grade pieces can command tens of thousands, making them one of the holy grails of modern-era coinage. And another variety worth noting is the 1976 Bicentennial Quarter struck in 40% silver, particularly in pristine condition, because while millions were saved, the top-graded versions still bring premiums, and proof examples with deep cameo contrast are always in high demand. And speaking of proofs, the Washington Quarter series also produced special collector-only issues from the San Francisco Mint beginning in 1968, and these proofs, especially from the Silver Series of 1992 through 1998, are highly desirable when found in perfect PR70 DCAM condition, as registry set collectors drive fierce competition for the finest examples. And of course we cannot overlook the modern varieties that turned into instant sensations, such as the 2004 D Wisconsin State Quarter with its extra leaf high and extra leaf low varieties on the ear of corn, which were discovered in circulation and created a frenzy, with examples selling for hundreds to thousands of dollars depending on grade, and these modern errors proved that even after decades of minting, the Washington Quarter still had the power to surprise and excite collectors, and auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers have repeatedly showcased the strongest demand for Washington Quarters, with top pieces consistently reaching jaw-dropping figures, such as a superb 1932 D quarter graded MS-66 that realized more than $143,000, setting a record for the series, while other dates like the 1932 S in MS-66 have sold for $45,000 to $50,000, and transitional errors like the 1965 Silver Quarter and the 1970 S-proof quarter struck on a Canadian planchet have crossed the $30,000 mark, proving that this series is full of surprises. And when you add in the fact that silver quarters from 1932 through 1964 also carry intrinsic melt value, especially during periods of high silver prices, it makes the Washington Quarter a dual-purpose collectible, appealing both to those who value precious metals and to dedicated numismatists who cherish design, rarity, and condition. And the broader legacy of the Washington Quarter is also worth reflecting on, because it has spanned so many eras of American history, from the Great Depression through World War II, the post-war boom, the turbulent 1960s, the bicentennial celebrations, and into the modern era of state and national park designs. And it has done so while retaining the dignified image of George Washington, reminding Americans of their first president every time they reached into their pocket change, and that consistency has helped make the Washington Quarter one of the most familiar coins in American life, a coin that every child, collector, and everyday person has handled, yet one that still hides great value in the right condition or with the right minting error. And even though millions upon millions were struck over the decades, the rarities stand out like beacons, rewarding those who take the time to study dates, mint marks, varieties, and conditions, making the Washington Quarter one of the most educational and rewarding series to collect. And as we conclude this journey through both parts, it's clear that the Washington Quarter is far more than just pocket change. It is a canvas of American history, a field of study for numismatists, and a source of fascination for treasure hunters who still search coin rolls and collections hoping to find that one elusive rarity. And that's what makes this series so enduringly popular, a perfect balance of accessibility and hidden value, a coin that belongs in the hands of every collector, whether they are just beginning or have been building collections for decades. And with that, we wrap up our complete story of the Washington Quarter Dollar, a coin that began as a 1932 commemorative and went on to become one of the longest-running and most beloved series in U.S. coinage, filled with treasures, surprises, and lessons in history, artistry, and value. And with every Washington Quarter you hold, you never know, you might just be holding a small fortune in your hand. Thanks for watching.